tokenisation. Real world assets, real move, real place. RWA Western Australian Regional Hub. Open the door, let value take shape. Brick by brick, we build it right. Simple access, clear daylight. New ground now, watch it rise. Local and to global light. Let's talk real estate, tokenisation. Let's talk real estate, tokenisation. Powered by Blocksquare. Powered by Blocksquare.
That's brilliant.
Oh, we're recording now. Great.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's,
I just clicked the recording button, but maybe we wait as well a couple of minutes more before we really kick off, because we might have more people joining. I had a couple of problems finding my Luma link, so I might not be the only one.
Yep. Okay.
have we had a discussion on how often we'll be doing this, like once a month, or is it fortnight, or it's still open?
I think we'll probably just see how this goes and then set a monthly or whatever we deem appropriate.
So pretty much do what we always do, just make it up as we go.
That's the one.
Well, we could do in person 1 month and then online 1 month, or depending on how everyone's schedule is, whether we meet online or in person. But either one, if we could do one each month, that would really be great.
All right, cool bananas. I've been given a script and instructions from Julia, so I will try to follow it as best as I can and ignore the bits that I don't want to follow, which will be interesting because I live with Julia and she can always tell me when I'm doing things wrong, which is regularly. Right.
Other than that, maybe we start with the
Take. Yeah. All right. Too easy. All right. My name is Brandon. From Orange Brick Road, orangebrickroad.com.au. We do everything in crypto. I am the host and the navigator of this. Tonight we'll be talking about real world assets and the different sort of classes and different ways of looking at how it is approachable on the blockchain. Talking about different functions, different areas of real world tokenization, and also legalities, and how Australia is sort of approaching it. Like I said, I'm hosting this, so I'm just going to go through, and also just to mention, and just to get it off we normally do in-person meetups, but today this is the first one, so it's obviously going to get better from here as we go forward and get more professional. But like I said, we normally do in person. It is convenient, and I actually prefer the in-person because you get to meet the people and you chat, and then after the presentations you sort of swap cards and sort of catch up later and that sort of thing. But a lot of people can't make it, they've got busy lives, that sort of thing, and going into Perth City and then traffic and parking or whatever, and also obviously you've got work, and so we had this idea to do these online. Like I said, we will be doing these more in the future and having live Q&As, which we'll try to get to at the end. We are going to try to keep this to an hour as best as we can, because I think we've got a hard out at 8 o'clock. All right, so with no further ado, I will start off with Julia is the CMO of Blocksquare. There's also an APAC marketing expert. I just asked her what that meant before, and she answered me, and I still don't know what it is. So I'll get her to explain that. And a Blocksquare ambassador, direct asset tokenization with land registry integration and real world implementation of tokenized real estate infrastructure. How cool is that? I got all the way through that sentence. There's so many big words in that. It's amazing. So anyway,
Now you did the introduction already.
Oh, no, you're supposed to do the intro. So when I say, all right, up next is Minnie Reynolds, Director of TecStack. You're on mute.
like mute. Can't hear.
Rookie, bloody rookie,
Rookie
mate.
mistake.
So Minnie Reynolds, take it away.
So I also work for Blocksquare in sales and business development in Australia, and I obviously very keen on the tokenisation space and love the crypto space all up, and work together with Julia as the CMO, Karoline and Jacek and yourself as ambassador as well for Blocksquare, just spreading the word about what we do and how we do it and how we can help.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about you getting involved in this is that you've been heavily into real estate for many, many years, like, you know, a few decades, well, a couple of decades at least. So you can sort of do that about 40 years. Sorry, mate, just aged you. Yeah, so you got a good understanding of what the traditional aspects are of it, and then the you know, the lack of liquidity and that sort of stuff, and then bringing that to it. So that's what I like about where you're at. Okay, Jacek, you're up next, mate.
Thank you. My name is Jacek Korneluk, and I'm sitting in the intersection now, AI, blockchain, and practical innovation. I'm a medical scientist, to be more confused, Blocksquare ambassador, and I'm founder and director of SpektrumLabs. I like tokenization. I'm very proud I met all the people involved in this here in Perth. And well, today I got very difficult, long day, but I'm doing my best. So probably I will not talk too much, and my time I will probably, I can say something, but maybe my time give to Mike Neugen. Maybe a few words about what I prepared. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
No worries. All right. Karoline Kolman is the chair, RWA Regional Hub. I've already just started your intro for you, mate. I've half done your job. Over to you.
No, that's fine. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, so I'm Regional Hubs Coordinator for Blocksquare and also the Chair and Ambassador for the Real World Asset Regional Hub in Perth, powered by Blocksquare. Just wanted to let everyone know that we were nominated for Signet West PropTech Hub 2026 Members' Choice Award for this year. Also, SpektrumLabs, Jacek's organisation's also nominated for that award this year. And last year, we were actually Blocksquare's winner of the Global Go-Getter Award at the Signet West PropTech Hub 2026 award, 2025 award, so sponsored by Key Perth. And then the year before, we were also winner of the Signet West PropTech Hub Emerging PropTech of the Year, sponsored by Radium Capital. So yeah, just wanted to let everyone know that. Thanks. I noticed Christoph is here. He's one of our speakers as well. Christoph, do you want to introduce yourself? You might be on
Yes,
mute. We can hear you
now.
Yeah.
Yes, apologize for being late. Unfortunately, I got stuck in the city tonight, which is right home. My name is Christoph. So I've been building in real estate tokenization space for the past 3 years. We pivoted last year a bit after taking part in accelerator from directly tokenizing real estate to tokenizing depth in tokenization, and rather building at this moment we are building infrastructure for tokenization. So we don't do tokenization ourselves, but we do prepare audit log for based on blockchain for institutions who would like to tokenize their debt.
All right, fantastic. And I've got some questions for you too, Mr. Christoph. Is that how you say it, mate?
Yes, Christoph is fine.
Christoph Dunskys. All right. Well, over to you, Mike, if you just want to give us a little bit of an introduction.
Hi, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. My name is Mike. I'm a final year PhD student at Curtin University. I was lucky to be supported by both the Curtin University HDR scholarship and the top-up scholarship from the Digital Finance CRC. So my interest and my passion is in blockchain, and my PhD project is currently in building a taxonomy, so pun intended. So it's a classification framework for the taxation of tokens that shares the same characteristics with non-fungible tokens. I'm not talking non-fungible tokens outright because I'm suggesting some new concept and a name change for NFTs in general. My passion for blockchain starting with me being a video gamer, and I've been believing that the digital worlds as well as the physical worlds is gonna have to be merged at some point in time, and I'll just sort of like position myself to it.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, because I mean the gaming industry itself is just massive worldwide, and you know the tokenization and you know payment structures that can be done through blockchain, especially with emerging countries. I think there's a lot to be said about that. Okay, so going into that, now that I'm lost, here we go. All right, so everyone talks about tokenization, but you know, what is actually works today versus what is still theoretical? Because I know that we're still in the early stages. There are some projects that have started out that have all theory and all bang and sort of look good that basically went to nowhere. So, you know, so there's that payoff of what is reality, what is potential, and what is absolute nonsense. So I'll throw that over to you, Julia, if you wouldn't mind going into that in some detail.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, first of all, we talked a little bit about Blocksquare, but we didn't really mention what Blocksquare is. So Blocksquare is a real estate tokenization infrastructure provider. We developed a specific legal framework for direct asset tokenization, and we have been around since 2017. This is when we started first properties. We heard already back in the day tokenization of real estate. There were, you know, some global approaches back then happening. For example, the tokenization with Ryan Serhan in the Manhattan building, the skyscraper. That was a really big one back in the day. Blocksquare was tokenizing the opposite basically from that. At the same time, we decided to tokenize a little parking space that was worth much less, but that was basically what we wanted to prove on the market. Well, let's say like that. Not only didn't we have like big assets back then, but also we wanted to prove that you can tokenize, or that there's a way to tokenize real estate that is not directly a security, means it doesn't have to be a $10 million+ asset. We wanted to prove that we can find a way to keep tokenization what it should be, and that is the tokenization of the direct asset and not the tokenization of a security. So that is probably the main difference. Back in the day, tokenization was mainly focused on access and making digital access possible to international global investors. So, for example, the little car park in Ljubljana in Slovenia, we sold to 4 continents to 19 token holders in a couple of days. And that was, for us, our pilot. So these days, we have now tokenized over 200 million worth of real estate assets, brought them on chain. First 100 million was pilots for mainly tokenization for DeFi and staking, and the other 100 was from our marketplace operators that are hosting marketplaces on the Blocksquare infrastructure. So our system is developed not for us to become a global marketplace leader. We decided the infrastructure for local businesses who have real estate assets, who know local markets, who have local, legal teams and so on, who want to focus on building local marketplaces and want to build a business around it. on top of the traditional real estate. So that's the focus of Blocksquare. Now, and that is, I think what we went mainly is we went from access to full property cycle management and life cycle, basically until the exit. And that's where the entire industry, I think, is heading. So there's several different infrastructure providers out there these days where real estate people can choose the right product for their specific real estate needs. And of course, also what changed most ever since as well is the regulations. So we are now opening markets which are which can operate where also you know, I would say more the institutions can come in now because we have regulations set. And Australia, we just launched in April here the Digital Assets Bill, which also allows Australian companies to do much more in a regulatory environment and to also define a little bit more what we can do and what maybe doesn't work in Australia now.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Not listening as always.
It was just a very abrupt ending. Just before we fling over to Minnie, you mentioned an asset and a security. What's the difference?
Yeah, so that's, I think we're getting this with the direct asset tokenization. We're getting there, I think, in a little bit. But I can answer that question now. If you want to bring me on first. So direct asset tokenization, how we are doing it at Blocksquare is we are tokenizing the economic rights of a property that's held in a corporate entity. So instead of, you know, let's say you have the real estate assets, you're then moving it into an SPV, and then you are tokenizing the shares of the SPV, and that then brings a lot of different requirements you have to fulfill with different steps in between, especially with legal enforcement in case something is happening. Direct asset tokenization means that you directly allocate rights on a property and then secure these rights on the property title. Through, in our case, we're doing this with a mortgage-like loan registration in the international space. And this is fully regulated in Europe, for example. So when you're tokenizing an asset, you first have to decide, are you going to tokenize the security or are you going to tokenize the property itself? So if you tokenize the security, we're looking into, like, you know, companies, funds, all of these kind of things, like everything that's basically regulated as a security. Now that brings you in a regulatory scheme that sometimes, if you want to enforce it internationally, it's a little bit harder. Like, you have to make a claim itself, you have to take action, and it's a little bit it's a bit harder to basically reach that or enforce that on the other end of the world, let's say. But if you do the direct asset tokenization and your property is linked to the title, then the owner cannot sell the property. The owner cannot transfer a title of the property. It's basically locked. So you don't have to trust. You basically can rely directly on the laws we are actually having in the real estate space already. So one is basically the funds and all of that, and what we see as security products, and the other one is the direct lockup, or how you would say that, basically of the asset itself.
Okay, then sort of the tokenization of real estate, having it direct, means that you know, you're not going through all the other sort of entities that float around in the world and don't really do anything. I understand what you're saying.
It's basically how the banks are doing it, right? So they would basically place a direct mortgage on a land register, so you cannot do anything until this is settled.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we'll bring some now. the local market reality, we're going to sort of focus on WA at this stage. Minnie, do you want to jump in on that? I mean, what are you actually seeing in WA, and the real interest versus hesitation? Because a lot of people go, oh, that's a fantastic idea. I've got some property, or I have some investment property. You know, the hesitation. Where do you see the opportunity with obviously being in real estate yourself for a period of time, we might say? So where do you see people that are approaching it? What their sticking points may be?
Well, firstly, I think that WA in particular has a lot of opportunities to tokenize good value real estate. I don't know that I think probably the biggest, if you like to call it a sticking point, would be just the fact of understanding how it works and how it can benefit. So I think what we do as ambassadors for Blocksquare in particular is we actually talk about what the benefits are. Now, they're many, because it's not just releasing equity on a property that's illiquid. It's not changing the title at all either, so the person still has ownership. And it's allowing that liquidity to come back. It's like a forward payment for exchange for some revenue on your property in the future. That means you don't have to go through banking systems. You don't have to jump through those hoops. You're offering something to an investor base that makes it attractive for them to buy these tokens. The portions of money that the token holders have to put into buying the property, or sorry, buying the economic rights in that property, is very small. So because there's many tokens, you could say that some of that could be $50, $100, $1,000. So we're breaking down barriers for regular people to invest in property that's never been there before. We're making it liquid for the property owners, so they can actually extract money out of that property without any loans, settlement agents, lawyers, etc. It's based smart contracts and peer-to-peer trading. So in WA, there's a lot of interest, in Australia as well, because obviously we travel quite a bit and we promote Australia as well in Sydney and Brisbane and Canberra and wherever we can go. And we now have the regulatory framework in place that will make it more clear about how this can work in Australia, how it can be regulated, how it can be safe. And the way that Blocksquare does it is actually very good and very protects the token holder very well. So we sort of already feel like we tick a lot of boxes there. So yeah, I think many benefits. The other side of it, just briefly, and I know we've not got much time, but there's a real need for being able to get people that are, say, on state housing or in low income housing to be able to have some ownership of their property. Tokenisation could perhaps afford that as well. And that's another avenue that we think is a really important one, because the social and economic benefits there will be huge. So there's many facets, but let's just say, yes, the interest is strong. Regulatory framework has helped, and I think we'll be moving forward with some projects, soon.
Yeah, well, you touched on a few key topics there. As one, illiquid. You're making something that's illiquid, that's bulky, that takes lawyers and paperwork and government intervention and all that sort of stuff, and making something that's sort of more versatile. And you also mentioned like the economic rights. And I mean, I know that I've done this before, and it was kind of a little gag or a meme when we done another live stream where we do it, where I was sort of defining what economic rights were. Like if it's a round figures, $1,000 worth of property, obviously they're going to be worth more, and you buy $100 worth of that property, that doesn't mean that you own the kitchen,
exactly,
or the bedroom or the driveway. You actually own the economic rights, which sort of frees that up for people that can't necessarily get into the property market, because of obviously price rises, interest rates, uncertainty, divorces, whatever it may be. So that's what I like about this. Okay, I'm going to jump into the next was Christoph. If you want to jump in, mate, and talk about what you're doing.
So currently we are providing SaaS solution platform for institutional lenders and real estate developers. So my background is real estate development, and that's why I was kind of building software in these aspects for like the past few years to improve financing of real estate construction projects. And then where initially we started similar like Blocksquare with trying to tokenize the assets, but then eventually we moved in the past year to tokenizing debt for real estate developers. So, and like I said, we don't actually tokenize it directly ourselves because here we are directly tokenizing securities. We just provide that infrastructure and make it easier for lenders to tokenize it later using platforms like Blocksquare or equivalent who actually tokenize debt. And they use our audit history, which is recorded on blockchain. So they can tie in this history of the debt, which is being recorded, all the steps, and then add it to the token which are being issued. So it kind of provides the live evidence. So the token has actual value, then we don't have to add paperwork to the token to keep the value, because all the steps of the construction finance are being recorded on the blockchain. So all that history is there, and it's transparent and it's available, and kind of bring this value of the token itself. So that's what we're doing in a nutshell. And yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
No.
So, sorry, I know you're here today for the questions, Brandon, but just so you're basically saying what you guys are doing is almost like a finance passport about properties. So instead of when we are, for example, onboarding, or when our marketplace operators onboard properties, then there's obviously this due diligence that we're telling them, okay, we need your mortgage statements, we need your revenue statements, we need this and this from the last, years, and we need your valuation, and we need all of that. So we then take this paperwork and we upload it together with that contract, because all like real world contracts are the basis of the tokenization. So you can, even if you wouldn't have the tokens, you could go to and claim that legal document at court. So that's the foundation of the tokenization, and then the tokens just sit on top of that. So you're saying that all this information about the mortgages and or everything that we're collecting in paperwork right now could just plug in with these digital tokens you guys have to verify that this is all true.
Pretty much. Well, you could probably apply a similar principle into existing assets. That's what we're doing. Our solution is designed purely for the debt. So the debt which is being issued during the construction and development process, right? So it could be also during refurbishment or any construction works, but we are aiming new development. So like we know, like everything is being digitalized right now, right? So it's like even any documentation, contracts, and so on in the banking process. When you, as a developer, when you request a loan or finance for construction projects, everything is being done online, right? So even if we have copies of those contracts, which they look, as paper copies on our screen, but all the signature is being done electronically. Documentations, IDs, everything is being sent online. You don't actually have to go and physically deliver those documents. So our approach was like, well, this is actually a little bit ridiculous that we still have to have those paper copies if they are online anyway. So why don't we record every single step that we are doing on the blockchain, right? So, and then we hashtag every transaction so it cannot be repeated or falsified, And then this kind of provide the evidence which can be tied in. Like, of course, like, you know, before the whole industry will move to this type of solution, we are still on an early stage, but it does provide this additional assurance layer, right? So that when, for example, when you are an institution on the other end of the world and you look over there, you don't have to actually try and, you know, look for all those documents. You can just look at the list, and then based on the list and on this history trail, then you can actually access those documents as well. So through that, if you want to.
When you say on the blockchain, what blockchain are we talking about?
So we built it on XRPL, but you could do it on pretty much any blockchain. So depending what institution, which blockchain they are using. But our current version is working with XRPL.
Okay, great. Julia, were you going to say something?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to know, like, is there, like, you're focused on the Australian market or global market, or what's your
Well, we did we took part in 3-month accelerator program last year in France, organized by XRPL Commons. But then we moved to Japan in January, and we did trial over there with Mizuho and SMBC Bank. So now we're testing this as well with one of the Japanese funds at the moment. So it's still a long way to go to make it mainstream and being used. But then our aim is that hopefully that we're going to start collaboration with Ripple as well, because they do have access to a lot of institutions already, and then maybe we can use this solution on a wider market as well.
Yeah, and your target is basically banks and private investment firms, private investment banks.
Pretty much. So everyone who can tokenize. So it's like not many institutions can actually tokenize. So right, the legal wise, it's still quite complex because it depends on jurisdiction and so on. It's actually simpler to tokenize debt instruments than tokenize the property itself, but it's still quite complex because we are talking with securities. So whoever wants to tokenize, they need to have just a classic security license, plus they need to have a digital assets license as well. So so it kind of add this additional layer of complexity. So that's why it's still quite early stage. However, you know, we know, like what Larry Fink was saying, that we're going to tokenize everything, and that's what he says. He thinks financial assets mostly about the tokenization. So BlackRock works with Ripple directly as well, and they do tokenize a lot of financial assets already. And this is where they're pushing mainstream banking. So, and we know that they do need to require this type of instruments, how they can digitalize, because there is no point to send those tokens, you know, if you have to email the paperwork after it in an envelope. So, so you have to move like a blockchain fully eventually. So.
Yeah, well, that was the whole structure. Was like, you know, back in the day when all the crypto people were like, oh, everything's going to be on the blockchain, they're going to blockchain everything, and everything's going to be tokenized. And there are some things that are good to be tokenized, and there's some things that just shouldn't. You know.
That's right. Yeah, of course.
And now with real world assets, I see that as something that should be. Because one, it's permissionless transfer of value between individuals and not having middlemen, but it also opens up the whole aspect of, okay, now let's talk about what can be tokenized. You know, like a vineyard, gold. They're talking about tokenizing the New York Stock Exchange. You know, they're talking about tokenizing all these types of things. Excuse me. Where do you see where that's going to be coming from? Do you think that there's a barrier, and maybe Minnie, you can jump in on this as well? Is there an education barrier that needs to be overcome? I mean, you've got the likes of BlackRock and that sort of stuff, but I mean, they have floors and floors and floors of researchers, you know, like where do you see the sticking point between that barrier of going, okay, I have a set of vineyards, or I have, you know, a mine site that does gold or whatever it may be, or I have this physical asset. How do I then tokenize it?
So who is the question to?
I'm going to say Minnie. Go, Minnie.
That was a long question.
All right, I'll make it shorter.
A lot. Are you asking, like, obviously we're looking at tokenizing a lot now. Financial instruments make sense. I think anything where
by financial instruments, but just for clarity and also for the audience, by financial instruments, what do you mean?
I mean anything that is to do with finance, like debt tokenization, for instance. We talk about
just on that, because Christoph went into that. Debt tokenization, does that mean I can buy someone's debt?
Essentially. Well, maybe Christoph, you can talk to that.
Because I did look into that about a week ago, and that seemed very interesting, you know, because, like, you know, you've got people that have debt or a collection of debt, and then they obviously accrue interest and then pay it out. Now you can get a portion of that. Is that about right, or have I just got it too simplistic?
Yes, exactly. And this is already happening, right? So this is not that, you know, it wasn't possible and that it will suddenly be possible with adding tokenization layer on this. So the main reason why we're talking about the tokenizing all those financial assets at the moment is because tokenizing them allow them to do it 24 hours, 7 days a week, and reduce the cost of it, right? So this is the main reason. So it's not that we cannot do it. It's always being done. We do fractionalize the loans. It's mostly happening on the institutional level. So we have small banks selling loans to the bigger banks, and, you know, they can sell just the portion of it. They sell it to wholesale investors. So there are exchanges that trade just portions of loans in the traditional way. And the same will happen with stock market. So the reason why we're saying we want to tokenize stock market, because they just want to trade it 24/7. 7 days a week without delays, and ideally they want to combine it with stable coins, so to avoid fluctuation of currencies as well. So that's how it works in a financial world at the moment. So
and Mike has got his hand up, so Mike might have something to add to that as well.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of education, I just want to echo like what Christoph, Brandon, and Minnie has been discussing. I think the most important things in terms of education, speaking from an academic point of view, is like to make people realize like the concept of ownership is largely expanded with the introduction of blockchain tokenization. So, for example, right, if you sell a real estate token, you cannot say, okay, I sell this to you and you own the tokens, mean you own the house, or like you own the kitchen of the house, things like that. That's not going to be correct. You're going to own the economic rights of the house, right? And when we tell people the term economic rights, a lot of the people who are not studying law is just like, what? And we kind of have to like sort of like explore like the concept of ownership is no longer just legal title, no longer just like not even possession, but it's well extended to like other types of rights and interests as well. So that's one thing that we need to like to speak more about, to analyze more about. That's just my humble opinion, because like we all think that like for tokens, right, we already know that tokenization helps with liquidity, tokenization help with fractionalization, helping with like trading 24/7, from T2 towards the T0, things like that. But one of the things that I specifically think that tokenization can do, and it's already done very well, is the segregation of rights. It's separate the rights from legal titles to economic interest, even other type of interest as well, security interest, and other even licensing. So it's like people need to know, like, okay, when I'm speaking like I own a house, it's no longer that I own a house or which part of the house that I own, but it's distilled into like which rights of the house I'm owning. So this
Yeah.
is, I think, is most important going forward. Just my humble opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it'll avoid things like the real estate economic crisis that we had, where certain firms were just leveraging up and saying that they own certain amount of properties and then off-selling them, what they call truncheons, to other firms, etc. That then have a meltdown. If all that was on the blockchain, you wouldn't be able to lie, So it's all good. All right. Okay. Coming up next, Jacek. We're going to be talking about the tokenization of real estate developments, which is something that I'm actually really, really keen on. And it actually brings up my interest a lot, because getting involved in the project early is kind of what I like about crypto. All right. Jacek, over to you, bro.
I will be very brief, because I wrote the article today. I started early. Published, the link is attached here. If you're clicking in this chat, you can read on SpektrumLabs. Tokenization of development is different from tokenization of existing building. The value is still to be created. This is the path. So this is following the whole path. This is the land, planning, approvals, funding, construction, income, and we are not tokenizing building, we are tokenizing the whole long process. You can tokenize the milestones, so you can trace it, you can ask for money, you don't need to have the whole money from the beginning. And what? And there's a lot, the technology is theoretically ready. The problem is with, not even theoretically, it is. The problem is with legal. Legal must come. Yesterday we were attending this meeting in cartoons. Apparently we're more ready. So I'm happy. And legal must come first. The tokens are only strong as the rights below are. So if the legal will be strong, the token will be strong. And liquidity only has sense because tokens not giving liquidity. Liquidity is when people there is demand for this. People buying, trading, has trust, and using this token. Stage capital, I said, is transparency. I will not say more about it. The WA angle community participation in project is very important as well. There is a lot of people, they want to participate here. There's only one sentence. Tokenization will succeed only if solve the real problems. All the parts involved got. So capital, transparency, trust. Not because of blockchain, but because the whole system is working from the beginning to the end, and it's slowly coming, Please read this article. I will leave my time to Mike Neugen. The article is available, and I will try this video, but for sure, no, I will not try. Next time. Thank you.
Brandon, you're muted.
I was muted all the time.
No, that was me, brother. That was me. I was just testing to see if people were alert. That's all I was doing.
Okay,
Right.
God's I was thinking I was muted all the time. So okay, no worries.
Yeah, because I remember way back in the day when they were selling apartments in the Gold Coast, because I worked in real estate for a while, and they had this 360-degree camera, and they would take a photo of an entire room and then put whatever, and then they'd have a crane that went up with cameras that took where the view would be from. And people were buying the properties off spec. It wasn't even built yet, but it was a way of raising revenue. Now, if you can tokenize the stages between, okay, well, once they've got the foundations in, once it's been cleared, and you can choose to invest and get in and out through that whole process, that really, really excites me, because you can go, okay, I can get in $10,000 or $1,000 or $100,000 on an apartment building that's built next to a Westfields that has a high rise or whatever, and within 9 months that might go up 30 or 40%, and then I can just be out. You know what I mean?
I had only one question, one sentence. Combine it with digital twin and metaverse, and wear the meta or different glasses, and ask the people to walk through this building and buy the Legos.
Yeah, 100%. And they can also change the you know, the taps that they have and like the outlet and the whole 9 yards. So it's really, really fascinating. All right, moving on. Is it Sergey?
Syria.
No, Mike.
Mike.
Mike,
Mike, I
sorry.
think
Mike.
All right. Yeah, Mike, I just want to ask you, you do the tax and blockchain. How does that sort of fit together, mate? Can we just not have tax?
Well, I'm saying here like, and I'm sorry because my view is a little bit of a contrarian and of a more like neutral view, like between the industry and the academic and also the policy making. I believe that there should be tax revenue, and because like, and the tax should not be taxed for the sake of taxing, but also like for all of the support, like in terms of infrastructure, legal support that the government can give out. And I do believe that we are lucky that we are in Australia, where the government's view of the digital assets and crypto assets are not negative, and it's rather like supportive and open for listening, as shown by their like the ASIC's recent information sheet 225, specifically for tokens, as well as the most recently released Corporation Amendments and Digital Asset Framework Act 2026. We see the movement there is positive, and I, for one, believe that, and this belief follows like Professor Robert Cunningham's in Curtin University. So I firmly believe in his belief that the market will only function well and efficiently when it is properly regulated, not overly regulated, but properly, and where guidelines are clear, and you know, all of the classification and use cases are being like explored and clarified. That way, it will save a lot of our compliance costs. So that's, I personally think, it's a good thing, and that is where we ought to like answer by like paying taxes to the jurisdictions that support us, and I believe that's a good duty to make. And now, paying and overpaying is another issue that I'm not gonna discuss here, because I'm not a tax advisor. But that is my view. We need the support, we need the regulation that will save a lot of our compliance costs, and that will increase the trust of customers as well. If you speak about it from an industry point of view, I, for one, would not invest in a country where there's no rule in blockchain at all.
Yep, I can understand that. Anything over 1 cent is overpaying in tax, in my opinion. All right, so
I got a question for Mike. So at the moment, what I heard yesterday at that event is basically like, okay, and here's now our crypto tax rules, and here is, you know, the taxes we're paying in the off-chain world. And so one person even said, like, because the crypto taxes in Australia are so heavy, that if you run your business, your blockchain business in Australia, you do it for only one reason, and that's the lifestyle. Because for building a business, for growing a business and all of that, other countries are much better than Australia. So that's one message that got stuck. And I really must agree, because if we are looking especially to Southeast Asia, I mean, you know, the competition is strong. Like, you know, you're much better off to, I mean, Thailand has this 5-year tax break. For example, Kuala Lumpur, like Malaysia, has really attractive rules, and they are really becoming strong in their blockchain roadmap. You know, there's all these countries who see a massive opportunity to attract businesses, and Australia is not really recognizing that. Australia would rather see the businesses going, but basically say, well, if you want to, you know, so the businesses who stay are saying, like, I do that because I want to live in Australia. That's where I want to be. And that was what I found very interesting yesterday, and it's absolutely true. We are not competitive in the market the way how Australia is at the moment regulated. That's I think that's very, very clear. And what also is not happening is the recognition, and I think that's where we need to put in a lot of work from industry side as well, to share that with the regulators, is that if you tokenize real estate and you are offering, for example, these economic right tokens to the industry, it is simply not the same as an ICO. It's not the same as a crowdfund. It's not the same like selling cryptos or stablecoins to anyone. It's a completely different asset. And at the moment, Australia does not have a tax rule for that. So we know from Europe, Blocksquare's already for many years very engaged with the regulatory framework there. Now what we basically also did was we are at the moment working on preparing tax rules that we would recommend for that, or how the EU can handle this. The same as like with our tokenization framework, we gave it to the sandbox, we gave it to the regulators. So the industry has to come and provide solutions for the regulators, informative solutions, so the regulators have something to work on, because we need to give the market input. Otherwise, how can they build the regulations to make it attractive? Because if we regulate how it is right now, it's probably not, it's the unknowing at the moment that you just don't know how you're going to be taxed. So for the first marketplace operator, for example, that comes to Australia with our model, that's another thing that has to be worked out on their side as well, to really know how are we going to be taxed on this. I think it's a very important topic. We're still very, very early in the space. That work is not done yet, or far away from done yet, to make this actually work for Australia.
That's a very interesting insight. And now I'm non-policymaker. And everything I speak is as a learner, and I speak for myself. So yeah, I cannot sort of like answer that, because I do not represent anything. Just from a learner, but from a learner's point of view. So first, about investment choices, to me, I think is the risk profile of everyone, and really like and it's valid to say that, okay, one of the investment choices in Australia is like, because I want to live here, that's also affected people's like investment decision. And yeah, I know the things that are happening in Thailand, in Kuala Lumpur, even in Vietnam. They have a Vietnamese financial center initiative, which have a parallel sort of like sandbox, legal sandbox for registered membership companies. But then, like, what is my point of view is that what is the field that you choose to play, really? So we all know that the concept of high risk, high return. So you choose a place where the investment initial cost is cheap, but then there might not be enough legal clarity, or like long-term, legal support. Or are you choosing a place where everything is stricter comparatively at the start, but then you receive more clarity, more stability in the future? So that's in the end, it's just like the choice between like, okay, are you investing in shares? Are you investing in bonds? Are you investing in like just have your savings in a bank? Things like that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, speaking of the industry needs something to work with. I think the most recent and quite consecutive releases of the ASICs information sheet, and the most recent act that was passed through is I think is a big step forward, because before that we have nothing. We have to sort of like playing a guessing games, like what are we gonna do next? What are gonna be the regulation next? But now we at least have something to read, and there've already been definitions. Okay, what are digital tokens? What are qualify as digital asset platforms or a tokenized custody platform? I personally think like having guidance is good. And there's also a threshold, I think, for smaller platforms to start, which is, I think, if my memory serves me right, if a platform holding like customer having like less than $5,000 Australian dollars per customer and less than $10 million annual turnover, is gonna be it's gonna be getting concessions. So it's like, I think that's a good start. And I think we need to like to wait, see, and walk, and provide feedback so that the classification gradually become clearer. So that's my point of view.
Yep, no, I'm hearing what you're saying, mate. So I'm more of a sort of leave it to the free market, and the scariest sentence ever known to man is, "Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help." All right, so jumping on to Karoline. Karoline is the RWA. Well, you guys wanted me to host it. RWA Regional Hub in Perth, and Blocksquare Regional Hub Coordinator for Blocks and a Blocksquare Ambassador. All right, over to you, Karoline. We are running short on time. We're trying to get a hard out. Sorry about that, mate. So keep it to about, I don't know, 15 to 18 seconds would be perfect.
Okay.
All
Hopefully
right. No,
we
just
can
joking,
have
just joking.
this call for another 15 minutes, I hope. But I'm gonna hope we don't get cut out at 8 o'clock exactly. But so I think where I wanted to sort of bring a sort of step back a bit in terms of the view and like how, because I think we've solved this idea around can this work, but we sort of now need to know like what needs to be solved for this to scale. And I think we just need to see more initiatives that are actually proving this technology out, and we're seeing that with like stable coins, and we're seeing that you know, where the clearest use case is tokenized private credit. We've also got like the US Treasuries, money market funds, other yield-bearing assets. And I think one of the ones that I'm actually looking at as well as real estate tokenization is intellectual property, because I think there is a lot of value in that. It's like an $80 trillion industry. And I think there's a lot of, you know, music IP content or film content, or just even like intellectual property in terms of academics and science and books and just a whole lot of like information in terms of the property of information and data, and especially around AI, like how are people going to, you know, sort of own, you know, their own likeness or trademark their own situation or like their image and other aspects. And I think they're probably going to either go to the existing like trademarks and intellectual property bureaus and fill out forms and talk to lawyers, or perhaps they're going to look to new technology. And especially with AI, they've got this chance to sort of, you know, bring data and AI and sort of bring the blockchain into that world. And I'm excited about new ideas like remixing content and then owning some of that, or like new concepts around smart contracts and like attestation service where somebody can check like, you know, who has the rights to this content and actually use the blockchain to actually find that provenance and find who owns the data, and also then looking at social media data and kind of bringing a sort of platform to focus on all of that. And I think that could possibly even sort of come about quicker than you know, other sorts of areas, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's something I was going to touch on. And then some of the, so like we've already got tens of billions of dollars in RWA already on chain. So this is growing and it's got institution awareness or attention. And some of the biggest friction, I think, in this space is obviously the regulatory and the legal structure and just people's understanding about the current like terms like AFSL and license. And I think a lot of that is also, it was developed and built for a world like in the past, and we're sort of entering a new digital world. So we need to sort of see like, you know, what are we bringing along with us, and then what are we going to add to the world that we're in, and then also looking at like custody and investor protection, security, but I think also identity around that, integrating with existing financial systems, so that's sort of your institutions coming on board and and they probably have a lot of money, and then they have these ideas, and so things will take off in areas like you can see in stable coins, because there's an obvious huge use case for that. So it's going to be integrated even more, and liquidity alone doesn't guarantee, but with tokenization, what am I trying to say here? It doesn't guarantee an active secondary market. But yeah, that's sort of one of the frictions in terms of it being still a new technology. So onboarding, and then also looking at the user experience. So what is it like for people to onboard, and what is their education? So yeah, like it comes back to education, and what is their knowledge about this space, and perhaps also like the trust around, and perhaps even needing to be shown how to do this, and also and then attracting the capital, because the more that people are shown, and then the more that people are using it, then obviously you're going to attract capital, and then that's how you're going to scale. So it's really just compounding and building upon it. And we've already tokenized $200 million worth of assets on Blocksquare. So we are sort of in the right space for that. So hopefully that can continue.
Cześć, got a question. Sorry, I interrupt you, but I noticed him. He's probably Polish, I think. So I'm supporting him as well.
That's racist. No, all good. Okay, so oh my God, my apologies from the start. I struggle with reading names. Camille Ario, did you have a question?
Camille.
That's not how you spell Camille.
Yeah. Hello everyone. My name's Kamil Cieślak. I'm actually Polish, as Jacek mentioned. Very quick. Thank you for this very worthy exchange of ideas. I'm here on behalf of Swiss FinTech Association, and according to what you've earlier said, if you are looking for a jurisdiction with some welcoming rights, that Switzerland is the place to go. But my question is actually more technical. I understand that you are entering a lot of initiatives at a various stage. So the building has not to be, for example, a standing building. You are also, as I've understood, you are also entering the earlier stages of the development. And I would like to ask, what is actually today the earliest stage that you've entered a project and you've tokenized real estate? Thank you.
Can I answer that? Should I answer that?
Yeah, probably.
So in general, probably most assets out there who have been tokenized, not by Blocksquare in general, are probably crowdfunding campaigns to purchase land to build on it. That's probably, if you look on the platforms out there, there's a few aggregator platforms for tokenized real estate, and all these crowdfunding methods, they're all falling under RWA. So what's very important is to really understand how the token in the back is working and what has been actually tokenized. In order to work with the Blocksquare platform and to work with the economic rights, the title must be owned. So we cannot, we just say like we don't crowdfund because we can't secure crowdfund. Simple as that. That's how early we can go. We always, the best for us, the best properties we see for tokenization are already revenue generating properties that give you revenue from day one. Why? Because if someone buys real estate tokens online, they want to have yield, and they don't want to have the yield in 5 years. They want to have the yield today. And that is, if you're tokenizing a development, and you are working with revenue sharing or like economic right agreements, try to maybe, we have seen projects who have been, for example, tokenizing the last 30%. It really depends, like what your asset is. But I believe a good yield earning asset is the best one to tokenize, like an Airbnb with a good, profit range and low debt on it or no debt on it, for example. So use good assets, tokenize them to gain the trust from the market, get the reputation of the market that your properties are actually good ones, before you actually head into developments where you need actually more trust from the long-term investors. That's how I would do. But there's also a really good, interesting marketplace coming up now in Portugal, which Portugal is a really interesting market for real estate, high growth, and they are renovating urban developments. So they have access. They have been in that business for a long time, and they have access to really good sites. And they're renovating them and creating beautiful living environments in the city of Lisbon and stuff like that. So these kind of profits are like potentially a higher profit margin because of the value generation, and then they could turn into revenue generating assets as well, or rental generating assets after the development. So it really depends. But you can go from any stage, but you just need to find the right infrastructure for it then.
Thanks. It's a very, very good answer. Maybe I should specify my question more, because I was more interested in some more technical things here. I should ask maybe if you entered such an early stage as, for example, planned special economic zone, or are you entering when it's already something? Because about yield and all the topics connected to yielding and to bearing it, I understand the purpose and the whole idea behind. I'm concerned more about the technical stage. Are you able to provide technical infrastructure to tokenize, for example, a plot of land that is planned to become an industrial zone?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
As long as you already own the land, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't own the title for the land yet, then Blocksquare is probably not the right partner for you. You might maybe then would need to look into crowdfunding solutions.
Well, and a good lawyer for in the first place.
Yeah,
well,
but I mean, all the
Mike,
regulations
yeah.
for that are set in place. It's just like it's a matter of trusting into that fund. It's basically you create a fund and you tokenize it, and you just you use the crowdfunding licenses and you attach the token.
Mhm.
I think this is something where it shouldn't be a problem to do that if you want to do that. From an investment perspective, these kind of investments are probably much more high risk, because you're actually not directly investing into the asset, you're actually investing into the crowdfunding of the promise of buying something. And you would need to probably also anchor that investment somehow to the promise of, yes, you're using that money to purchase the land or the title and for nothing else.
Yes, I'm
I
talking
agree.
about a planned economic zone that is backed by government, for example.
Yeah.
So I assume
Same here.
the risk is not so high. But nevertheless, thank you for your answer, and happy to be here. Thanks.
Yeah,
Just
Mike,
one more thing to add. We actually had in South Africa, there's an infrastructure project similar to what you just mentioned. So they have been already on the launch pad and all of that and prepared for that. But it's a long-term process because it's so much structural work in the preparation to do that. So it's nothing like, I'm going to do this today and in 2 weeks I'm launching my marketplace. This is a long-term view, as you know, but it's a decision you make early in the structuring of the entire financing, if you want to bring tokenization in or not.
Mike's got a couple of questions too.
No, I just want to echo like first Karoline's and to some extent Jacek's mentioning about the legal like title system. One of the frictions that I still agree that is we are operating in a sort of like a double system if we're talking about tokenization, because I believe it will be much better if one day we can bring all of the current torrent system into the blockchain somehow, but that's gonna take decades. Given that e-conveyancing takes like more than 10 years just to like be fully implemented. E-conveyance, bringing everything to blockchain will take a lot of more times, and in the meantime, I believe that we cannot speak legal title trading in blockchain right now. And
May I say something? The Army Web is quite important. The Future Former Institute now changed. She said, and Professor Jason from RMIT said, this technology multiply. They're not adding. They multiply AI,
yes,
blockchain, and
agreed.
everything. If someone will wait 10 years, he will calcify and be ignored. So we cannot think about 10 years waiting for regulation. These people will be like dinosaurs, calcified. So we should change the thinking, you know. Now, quick, not quick, but good. But now, as soon as possible, because if not, it will be somewhere else and we'll be just like dinosaurs.
I think the marketplace will determine the timing. You know,
Yeah,
as the
quite true.
demand is there and the attention is there, that will then put on pressure on certain other aspects, and that's where it's at. If it's a boring and nobody's interested, it'll take forever. Or if you want to give anything to the government,
Yeah,
just
there will
forget
be
about it.
places in the world that will be interested and they will establish laws, and AI will help, even lawyers. No worries.
Yeah, I agree that the market demands will be a strong driving force to policy. That's certainly is true. Yep. So that's just one thing. But and another thing about investment is like I also want to echo what Julia said. When you invest, make sure you know whether you invest in the property or just the entity that is gonna invest in the property. So there's another thing that we need to be careful about, because that's completely different.
Yeah, 100%. Do your own research. Just don't start throwing darts at, you know, crypto and different investments. You know, actually be an adult about it. You know, which really helps with investment. Okay, well, I think that's about all the time that we have at this stage. Is that agreed?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Now, what we're going to be doing is doing this regularly, like I said. Now, just give a little plug, orangebrickroad.com.au, just everything in crypto. We also have a newsletter. In that newsletter, we'll be having highlights on events like this. We also post a lot about real world assets. You can contact myself or Julia if you're interested in tokenizing a property, or you are somebody that wants to invest in something like that wants to have some more clarity. You know, we can get hold of Jacek, we can get hold of anyone here. So yeah, if you want sort of a central place to go, because I know this is going out into the internet world as well as what we're doing at the moment, and also going out in the newsletter. So if you're out there and you're interested in this sort of stuff, yeah, go through Orange Brick Road. You can book a free 15-minute call and also do the newsletter. All right, that's about it, Peeps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can call me as well. No
It's
worries.
great to
I will
hear.
help.
Oh yeah, Jacek's there as well. Yeah,
Reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are all on LinkedIn as well, so it would be great to keep in touch.
And also thanks to TecStack, a sponsor, and Orange Brick Road and SpektrumLabs and Story Community Down Under. Thanks everyone for coming to Let's Talk About Real Estate Tokenization. I hope you can join us for the next one too. Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Glad to be here. See ya.
Bye.
Let's talk real estate, tokenization. Real world assets, real move, real place. RWA Western Australian Regional Hub. Open the door, let value take shape. Brick by brick, we build it right. Simple access, clear daylight. New ground now, watch it rise. Local and to global life.
crypto portfolio setup, trading, AI solutions, loans, real-world assets, license, chastity, bookkeeping, tax, planning SMF and trust. Secure your future with orangebrickroad.com.
Book a free 15-minute call. Visit orangebrickroad.com.au for everything in crypto.